Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Storyline Myths. I am so happy you're here again. Make yourself comfortable. Take a slow breath. And let me tell you a story that has been told for over 1,000 years. Imagine the sound of thunder. That deep, powerful sound that shakes your windows. That sound that makes children run to their mothers. That sound that makes the sky itself tremble. Now imagine that this thunder was not just a sound. Imagine that it came from a person, a god, the strongest god who ever lived. He was not graceful, he was not quiet, he was not careful with his words, he was loud, he was wild, he was honest, he ate more than 10 men, he drank more than 20. He laughed louder than anyone in the room. But when danger came, when monsters attacked, when the world was about to end, there was only one god that everyone called. His name was Thor. And today we tell his story. If you enjoy learning English through stories like this, please subscribe to Storyline Myths. Your subscription helps us bring you more amazing mythology stories for your English journey. Now, to understand Thor, we need to travel far north, to a land of ice, snow, and long, dark winters. The ancient Norse people lived in Scandinavia. That is the part of Europe we now call Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. These were hard lands. The winters were long and cold. The summers were short. The sea was dangerous. Life was difficult every single day. The Norse people were strong. They had to be. They were farmers. They were fishermen. They were warriors. They sailed across wild oceans in wooden ships. They fought against nature every day just to survive. And they believed in gods. Not gentle gods, not quiet gods, strong gods, wild gods, gods who fought and feasted and made mistakes just like humans. The greatest of these gods lived in a place called Asgard. Asgard was the realm of the gods. It was high above the world of humans. You could not walk there. You could not fly there. The only way to reach Asgard was by crossing a magical bridge made of rainbow light. This bridge was called the Bifrost. In Asgard, there was a great hall. The walls were made of gold. The roof was made of silver shields. Inside this hall, the gods ate together, drank together, and told stories of their adventures. And at the head of the table sat Odin, the All-Father, the king of the gods, the wisest being in all the 9 worlds. Odin had one eye. He gave the other eye away long ago in exchange for wisdom. He could see everything that happened in all the worlds. He sat on his throne and watched. He planned. He worried. Because Odin knew something terrible. He knew that one day the world would end. This ending was called Ragnarok, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. But that story is for another day. Today, our story is about Odin's son, his favorite son, his strongest son, Thor. Thor was born to Odin and a goddess named Jord. Jord was the goddess of the earth itself. So Thor was the son of the king of the sky and the goddess of the earth. He carried the power of both worlds inside him. From the very beginning, Thor was different from the other gods. He was bigger, much bigger. His arms were thick like tree trunks. His chest was wide like a barrel. His hands were enormous. When he walked, the ground shook slightly beneath his feet. His hair was red like fire. His beard was red too. His eyes were bright and always burning with energy. He never sat still. He was always moving, always doing something, always looking for the next challenge. The other gods in Asgard were clever and careful. They used words, they used tricks, they used magic. But Thor was simple. Thor was direct. If there was a problem, Thor hit it. If a monster appeared, Thor fought it. If a wall needed breaking, Thor broke it with his bare hands. Some gods laughed at him. They thought he was too simple, too rough, too loud. But when real danger came, nobody laughed. When real danger came, everyone looked at Thor. Because Thor had something that no other god had. He had Mjolnir. Mjolnir was a hammer. But it was not an ordinary hammer. It was the most powerful weapon in all the 9 worlds. Even gods were afraid of it. Even giants trembled when they heard the sound of Mjolnir flying through the air. But before we talk about Mjolnir, let me tell you something about Thor's daily life. Because Thor was not always fighting. He was not always in battle. Most days, Thor lived in his great hall called Bilskirnir. This hall had 540 rooms. It was the largest building in all of Asgard. Thor lived there with his wife Sif and their children. Sif was beautiful. She had long golden hair that shone like fields of wheat in the summer sun. Thor loved her deeply. He was fierce and wild in battle, but with Sif, he was gentle. He was kind. He was a good husband and a good father. Thor also loved to eat. He ate enormous amounts of food. Whole oxen, mountains of bread, rivers of mead, which is a sweet drink made from honey. At every feast in Asgard, Thor ate more than everyone else combined. The other gods watched him with wide eyes and shaking heads. He also loved to travel. He had a chariot pulled by 2 magical goats. Their names were Tangrisnir and Tangnjosta. These goats were special. Thor could eat them for dinner. And the next morning, if he placed their bones back together and blessed them with Mjolnir, they would come back to life, fresh and strong and ready to pull his chariot again. Every day was an adventure for Thor. He crossed mountains. He fought trolls in dark forests. He arm-wrestled giants at their own tables. He sailed through storms that would destroy any ship. And through it all, he carried Mjolnir. Let me tell you how Mjolnir was made. This is a wonderful story inside our story. One day, Loki, the trickster god, made a terrible mistake. Loki was Thor's brother. Well, not his real brother. Loki was adopted by Odin when he was a baby, but he grew up with Thor. They were like brothers. Loki was clever, too clever. He loved causing trouble. He loved playing tricks on everyone. And one day, he went too far. Loki cut off the beautiful golden hair of Thor's wife, Sif. This was not a small joke. In Norse culture, a woman's hair was sacred. It was a symbol of beauty and honor. Thor was furious. His face turned red. His hands shook with anger. He grabbed Loki by the neck and said, "Fix this, or I will break every bone in your body." Loki was scared, very scared. He promised to fix everything. He traveled deep underground to the world of the dwarves. The dwarves were the greatest craftsmen in all the worlds. They could make anything. They worked in underground forges, surrounded by fire and molten metal. Their hands were rough and strong. Their eyes could see the smallest detail. Loki asked the dwarves to make new hair for Sif, golden hair that would grow like real hair. The dwarves agreed, but they did not stop there. 2 groups of dwarves began to compete with each other. Each group wanted to prove they were the best craftsmen. They made incredible things. One group made the golden hair for Sif. They also made a magical spear for Odin called Gungnir. This spear never missed its target. No matter how you threw it, it always hit. The other group of dwarves worked even harder. They sweated over their forge. The fire burned hotter and hotter. The metal glowed white with heat. And they created Mjolnir. The hammer was not very big. In fact, it was shorter than planned. There was a small mistake during the making. The handle was too short. But the power inside it was beyond imagination. Mjolnir could crush mountains. Mjolnir could split the sky. When Thor threw it at an enemy, it would fly through the air, hit the target, and then fly back to Thor's hand. Every single time. It never failed. It never missed. And when Thor held Mjolnir above his head, lightning came from the sky. Thunder shook the earth. The clouds opened and storms raged across the land. That is why Thor was called the God of Thunder. But Mjolnir was not just a weapon. It was also a symbol. The Norse people used the shape of the hammer as a sign of protection. They wore small hammers around their necks. They placed the sign of the hammer on their doors. They believed Thor's hammer could protect them from evil, and Thor used his hammer to protect the gods and the humans from the most dangerous creatures in all the 9 worlds. The giants. You see, the Norse believed that the universe had 9 worlds, not 1. 9. They were all connected by a giant tree called Yggdrasil. This tree was so big that its roots reached into the deepest darkness and its branches touched the highest heavens. Asgard, the world of the gods, was at the top. Midgard, the world of humans, was in the middle. And Jotunheim, the world of the giants, was cold and dark and terrifying. The giants lived in Jotunheim among endless mountains of ice and stone. They were enormous. Some were tall as mountains themselves, some were made of ice, some were made of fire. They were ancient, older than the gods. They were powerful, and they hated the gods with a deep, burning hatred. The giants wanted to destroy Asgard. They wanted to destroy the world of humans. They wanted chaos and darkness to cover everything. They wanted to return the universe to the emptiness it was before the gods created order. And the only thing standing between the giants and the destruction of everything was Thor. Thor fought giants almost every week, sometimes every day. He traveled to Jotunheim more times than anyone could count. He broke their gates. He smashed their walls. He defeated their strongest warriors. The giants feared Thor more than anything in all the 9 worlds. When they heard thunder in the distance, they knew Thor was coming. Let me tell you about one of Thor's most famous adventures. The story of how he went fishing for the World Serpent. The World Serpent was called Jormungandr. It was the biggest creature in all existence. It was a snake so enormous that it wrapped around the entire world. Its body circled the earth, and its mouth bit its own tail. Jormungandr lived deep under the ocean. It rarely moved, but when it did, the sea became violent. Waves as tall as mountains crashed against the shore. Ships sank. Fishermen drowned. The gods knew that during Ragnarok, the end of the world, Thor and Jormungandr would fight each other. It was their destiny. They were meant to destroy each other. But Thor did not want to wait. Thor was never good at waiting. One day, Thor disguised himself as a young man. He went to the shore and found a giant named Hymir who had a fishing boat. "I want to go fishing," Thor said. Hymir looked at this young man and laughed. "You? Fishing? The sea is dangerous today. Go home, boy." Thor did not go home. He climbed into the boat. Hymir shook his head but let him stay. They rowed out to sea. They rowed far, very far, further than anyone had ever gone before. Hymir became nervous. "We should stop here," he said. "This is far enough." "Keep rowing," Thor said. His eyes were fixed on the dark water below. They went even further. The water turned black. The air became cold. Hymir was terrified. Thor prepared his fishing line, but he did not use a normal hook. He used the head of an ox, a giant, heavy ox head dripping with blood. He threw it into the water. They waited. The sea was silent. Then something moved below. Something enormous. The water began to bubble. The boat started to rock. Hymir grabbed the sides of the boat in panic. Then the line pulled tight. So tight that Thor was almost dragged into the water. He planted his feet firmly on the bottom of the boat. His feet pushed so hard that they broke through the wood and touched the ocean floor below. Thor pulled. He pulled with all his strength. His muscles screamed. His face turned red. The veins on his neck stood out like ropes. And slowly, from the black water, a head appeared. Jormungandr, the World Serpent. Its head was as big as a mountain. Its eyes were yellow and filled with ancient hatred. Poison dripped from its teeth. Its breath smelled like death. Thor looked into the serpent's eyes. The serpent looked back. For one moment, the world stood still. Thor raised Mjolnir above his head. Lightning cracked across the sky. Thunder exploded. This was the moment. He could end it now. He could kill the serpent before Ragnarok. But Hymir was so terrified that he grabbed a knife and cut the fishing line. The serpent fell back into the ocean. The water exploded upward. Waves crashed everywhere. The boat nearly sank. Thor turned to Hymir with fury in his eyes. But the giant had already jumped into the water and was swimming to shore. The serpent was gone, back to the bottom of the ocean, waiting for the day when it and Thor would meet again for the last time. Thor sat in the boat alone. The sea slowly became calm again. The thunder faded. The lightning stopped. He looked at the water where the serpent had disappeared. He was angry, but deep inside, he knew the truth. Their fight was not meant for today. Their fight was meant for the end of the world. And that day would come. No matter what anyone did, that day would come. Thor returned to Asgard that evening. He did not speak much. He sat at the great table and drank his mead in silence. The other gods looked at him. They could see something in his eyes, something heavy, something serious. Loki, who was always watching, always noticing, sat down beside him. "You almost had it," Loki said quietly. Thor looked at his brother. He nodded slowly. "Next time," Thor said. But both of them knew what next time meant. Next time was Ragnarok. Next time was the end of everything. Thor took another drink and looked at the fire burning in the great hall. The flames danced and crackled. Outside, the wind howled across Asgard. Tomorrow, Thor would wake up. He would pick up Mjolnir. He would protect the worlds again. He would fight giants. He would create thunder. He would be Thor. Because that is what he did every single day, without complaint, without hesitation, without fear. Well, maybe a little fear. But he never let it stop him. And this is what made Thor different from other gods in other mythologies. Zeus ruled forever. The Greek gods won their war and kept their thrones. But the Norse gods knew they would lose. They knew Ragnarok was coming. They knew they would die. And they chose to fight anyway. Thor knew that on the last day he would face Jormungandr. He knew he would kill the serpent. But he also knew that the serpent's poison would kill him too. He would take 9 steps after the battle, and on the 9th step, he would fall. And yet he never ran. He never hid. He never tried to escape his fate. He kept fighting. He kept protecting. He kept being Thor. Every day he woke up, picked up his hammer, and defended the world. Not because he would win forever, but because it was the right thing to do. The Norse people loved Thor more than any other god, more than Odin, more than Freya, more than anyone. Why? Because Thor was like them. The Norse people were not kings or philosophers. They were farmers and fishermen and warriors. They worked hard. They faced danger every day. They did not have elegant words or complex plans. They had strong hands and brave hearts. Thor was their god. He was not perfect. He was not the wisest. He was not the most beautiful. But he was honest. He was loyal. He was brave. And he never, ever gave up. Even today, Thor lives in our world. The day Thursday is named after him. Thursday means Thor's day. Every week, when you say Thursday, you are saying the name of the God of Thunder. The Marvel movies have made Thor famous around the world again. Millions of people know his name. Children dress up as Thor for Halloween. People buy toy hammers and pretend to throw lightning. But the real Thor, The original Thor from the Norse myths was something deeper than a movie character. He was a symbol that you do not need to be the smartest or the most powerful. You just need to be brave. You just need to keep fighting. You just need to never give up, even when you know the ending will be hard. And you, my friend, are on your own journey right now. The journey of learning English. Some days it feels easy, some days it feels impossible. Some days you understand everything. Some days you understand nothing. But you're still here. You are still listening. You are still learning. That makes you like Thor. Not because you are perfect, but because you keep going. One word at a time, one story at a time, one day at a time. And that is more powerful than any hammer. Thank you so much for listening today. If this story brought you something good, something exciting, something useful, please leave a comment below. Tell me, which story do you want to hear next? The incredible journey of Hercules, the strongest hero in Greek mythology? The dark and beautiful story of Hades, king of the underworld? Or perhaps the terrifying tale of Medusa, the monster who was once a beautiful girl? Subscribe to Storyline Myths so you never miss a new story. And come back soon, because another incredible journey through ancient mythology is waiting for you. See you in the next story, my friend.